This Week in Startups is brought to you by IBM, dedicated to supporting startups and developers by building developer communities in cities all over the world and providing support, connections, and opportunities to grow. Learn more at developer.ibm.com/startups.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of This Week in Startups, the show where we talk about founders and entrepreneurs who fight to evolve the world. And the world sometimes resists change. In fact, I can think of 5 or 6 areas that are so hard to change. And today we're going to talk about one of those 6, healthcare, and just generally health. But if you look at transportation, housing, education, health, government, and construction, those are the 6. Those are the 6 areas where you have massive incumbents, you have massive regulation, and sometimes you even have a little bit of corruption or people fighting who have special interests. It's very hard for entrepreneurs to make a dent there, but not impossible. And usually when a company is able to make progress in this space, it's because they create something that is so undeniably innovative and so important to consumers and so obviously important to various constituents in the ecosystem. Stakeholders, as we like to call them, not shareholders, but stakeholders, because there are shareholders, but there are also stakeholders, people who have a vested interest in seeing things move forward. Sometimes, if you get enough of those stakeholders involved and they're rooting for you, change can happen. This is a very important lesson for entrepreneurs who are hearing my voice right now. If you can get the stakeholders in a space to believe in your vision, to believe in your product or service, you can use them to just, as a wedge, as an arrow, to just break open and maybe change one of these highly resistant verticals. 2 examples come to mind: Uber and Airbnb. They had to fight to make transportation and housing more affordable, more flexible, and frankly, more innovative for consumers. And once they got those consumers on their side, and people said, you know what, I want to be able to take a low-cost ride in a Toyota Prius, and I want to know when the person's going to be here, and I want to pay $5 or $6, not $25, and have to wait and have wait time and some Lincoln Town Car waiting for me. And hey, I want to rent out my couch. It's my couch. I should be able to rent it. I want to make a little extra bucks. I got a lot of rent to pay. I'm not going to be here for the weekend. I want to be able to rent my apartment. That was Airbnb. Both of those companies had to fight like dogs to change their industries, but they did. So what's left? Government, that's going to be the last one. And then you have construction. That's going to be a hard one because of regulations, right? Cities are very NIMBY. The stakeholders in a city try to fight. And then you have these 2, which I believe want to see change, but they can't get out of their own way. What are those 2? Education and health. Education, you have very good intentioned people who have been iterating on a model of education for centuries that is suddenly uncontrollable in terms of cost and impossible to reverse. In other words, universities and schools are so entrenched in what they've built, it's impossible with pensions and campuses and infrastructure that they've built to change the 4-year college degree into something different. But change is coming. We had Treehouse Ryan Carson on the program. We saw lynda.com. And we're ourselves here at launch doing the Founder University, and we're doing Angel University. Everybody's chipping away and saying, hey, maybe there's a better model than all of this student debt and people coming out of school with $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 in debt and never being able to own their own home and never being able to get out from under. Now, health. This is an area of critical importance. But like education, a lot of great, well-intentioned people who want to see change. But candidly, they have a lot of infrastructure. They have doctors, they have nurses, they have big buildings, they have billing systems, and they have insurance and regulations, and they have people suing them, liability. It's very hard to have change in that area as well. But my first guest is very brave, and he decided, I see a wedge, I see a problem that is so undeniable, and I have a solution that will so easily solve it that they will not be able to stop me. And I believe him. I believe that he could be one of the few founders who could actually break this slow slog of innovation in healthcare that we see. And he's in Tel Aviv right now, and his name is Gidi Stein. Dr. Gidi Stein. I'm sorry, doctor. Welcome to the program, doctor.
Hi, thank you, Jason.
Well, you heard my preamble there, Dr. Stein. Healthcare is very hard. You have selected healthcare as a place to innovate. Tell everybody, what is your key insight and what are you working on?
Well, as you said, I'm a practicing physician here in the Tel Aviv area. And actually, I always thought that teaching and practicing medicine will be the main thing that I do. I never thought I would do startups or anything like that. But all that changed a few years back when a 9-year-old boy died when his primary care physician simply clicked on the wrong entry in the pull-down menu list and gave him the wrong drug by mistake. It wasn't bad judgment on part of that physician. It was a slip-up. It's like killing someone with a typo. And one would expect there to be some kind of cool mechanism to prevent these catastrophes from happening. But apparently, this is not the case. So we thought we should do something about it.
So a simple typo when prescribing a drug for a patient kills somebody unnecessarily. You have a lot at stake. How often are people injured and or how often do they die? Of course, inadvertently. No doctor's doing this on purpose. No nurse is doing this on purpose. No administrator's doing it on purpose. But how often do these kind of errors happen, and how often do they result in death?
So it's estimated that out of the 4 billion prescriptions out there every year in the US alone, about 8 million of them will contain life-threatening errors, which translates into hundreds and thousands of casualties and injuries, and a preventable waste for healthcare costs of more than $21 billion annually. And we found that this is really an underestimate of the true burden of the problem.
Wow. So we don't know exactly how many people have died, but we do know that a large percentage of these prescriptions, there are errors. What kind of errors do you see? What kind of errors typically happen? You studied this problem. What is the root cause of this? Is it because there are so many medicines? Is it because the IT infrastructure is antiquated? Is it because of business process and checklists? What is at the root of these errors, these unnecessary errors that result in injury and sometimes tragically death?
I think it's a combination of several things that add up together into a huge hazard. First, human nature. We always make mistakes. It's you can write the best poem in the world, but still you will have typos. But if those typos kill, it's really a problem. Second, really, physicians and staff overload. Are just working themselves so hard, and with so many prescriptions out there, it's almost impossible not to do some kind of mistake. And third, the entry of the new technologies mainly the electronic medical records and electronic prescribing has entered into the arena several types of errors that did not exist when we wrote manual prescriptions. When I sat in front of my patients and wrote a manual prescription, I gave it directly to him with the right name, with the right name of the drug, and the right dosage. Maybe my handwriting was not that good, but that was about it. But today, I can sit in my office, the patient is not there, click on the wrong patient, choose the wrong med, and my elbow on the zeros 100 times the dosage, and nobody will know.
Wow. So moving from print prescriptions actually introduced more problems? Is that what you're saying?
New type of problems that the current solutions are not built to address.
And so you were at our amazing Scale conference last year as part of IBM Smart Camp. They brought you to us. IBM obviously having offices around the world, working with startups everywhere. They brought us the best startups they could find around the world as part of their Smart Camp effort. And you showed the product there. Tell everybody about the solution that you showed and what's the reaction been in the marketplace? What kind of traction have you gotten for the solution? So 2 questions there. What is the solution and how is it evolving and growing?
So the main idea is really try to bubble up to the surface the catastrophes that can actually kill the patient. There are many errors out there, mostly are harmless, but if you really want to focus on these rare events that actually kill the patients, you need to really think out of the box. And we try to employ technologies which are very similar to the way that credit card companies deal with fraud, mainly analyzing millions of electronic medical records using machine learning algorithms to identify prescriptions who are statistical outliers to the normal behavior patterns of physicians treating similar patients in similar scenarios as potential errors. And just to give you a flavor of this real stuff that we found healthy individuals prescribed with chemotherapy by mistakes, patients with diabetes who received, insulin by mistake, a 2-year-old with Viagra, I don't know what it's going to do with it, an 80-year-old dementic patient with a fertility drug which had a name similar to the osteoporosis drug. Obviously, all of these are obvious errors. But, even if it's a 1 in a million, it's not a 1 in a million, it's really much less than that, things might happen.
And so your system can look at that with machine learning or just looking at patterns and say, why is somebody under the age of the normal range of this drug, fertility, they're not in their fertile years, an 80-year-old should never get a fertility drug, and obviously a child should never get an erectile dysfunction drug like Viagra or Cialis. So why did this happen? And then you just bubble that up and highlight it. This seems to me like the most basic blocking and tackling. Why didn't this exist before? Why hasn't anybody implemented this?
So several reasons, I think. And I think timing is everything. And, in the last 5 to maybe 8 years, there was emerging technologies that made this happen. First, the availability of large-scale electronic medical records, which happened only in the last 10 years. And now it's, I think, most 70% of all U.S. hospitals are fully electronized. But 10 years ago, I think it was less than 20, 30%. The emergence of hardware and algorithms and software that enable large-scale analysis and machine learning in real time. And this has also been available only in the last 5 to 8 years. So I think things are emerging. And I think that until a few years back, there were stakeholders, mainly the pharmacists and the patient safety officer, who felt responsible for the patient safety and for prescription errors. But now we really understand that it's not only them, it's all of us. It's patients, it's physicians. Everyone is a stakeholder in this business, so we have to all act upon it.
Right. How do you make money? How do you get this into hospitals? I talked earlier about how hard it is to get new technology into healthcare environments. Am I correct? You have obviously been on the other side of it as a physician, and obviously we've made great advances in technology for healthcare. But am I correct in that for a startup, which has a limited amount of runway, 12, 18 months typically, that the cycle of adoption is much greater than the average seed round or even a Series A round?
Definitely. The timeline is long and terrible and a killing factor for any startup. Let me just give you an example. In January, Harvard Medical School published an academic article detailing the results of our technology on 800,000 lives from the Brigham Women's and Mass General Hospital. Out of the 800,000 lives, we found 25,000 patients with life-threatening errors that the current solutions did not find, with more than 75% accuracy. And this is huge. But it took us 4 years to publish this article. We met them first in 2013, and only in January 2017, the article was published. And this is really a killing factor for any startup. But the way that we really try to penetrate the hospitals is threefold. First is really able to show value, meaning we take their historical data and show them the amount of life damaged and cost associated with the errors that they did not find. And the numbers are really intriguing. The second is really trying to harness into our product really opinion leaders such as Dr. David Bates at Harvard Medical School, which endorse our technology and help build brand recognition in decision makers around the world. And third is really trying to partner with the right technology leaders such as Becton Dickinson in our case, or electronic medical records vendors that really help push our technologies into the market on a large scale.
And so when will you know that you've succeeded? When you look at your company, when will you know that you've got escape velocity? In other words, you've really got a chance to make this an industry standard and to make this a going concern, that is, the company could become sustainable. What is it that you have to achieve right now? Because you've got your proof of concept and you've got some studies. What do you really need to do to make this a proper business?
So I think it's all about scale. Our ability as a small startup from Israel to knock on doors of each hospitals and make a sale is almost impossible. So the first thing that we want to do is really arrange high quality pilots, engage with cloud-based electronic medical records such as Athena Health, which we signed a deal last month, in order to really enable us to scale our product and mass market it. But the end game will be for the EMR vendors, for the integrators to take us in and put us as another line in the list of products that they sell to the hospital with the proper distribution channels and marketing channels. And once we get there, I think we'll be in a very good shape.
And this is the additional level of challenge you have. You can't just go straight to the consumers and build up a base of passionate users who demand that your product be in their city, like we saw with Austin, which lost ride sharing, and then people fought to get Austin, Texas to have ride sharing again, and Uber and Lyft just rejoined that market. Or Airbnb was being given a hard time in France and Paris and in New York, and the people who were renting, and also the people who are renting out their places said, hey, it's my place, I should have some rights here. You don't actually have that benefit. You have partnerships and people you sell to who then are going to include you in B2B sales. So you're not only not being able to use the consumer groundswell, you have a person between you and your ultimate customer, these resellers, or I don't know if they're, I guess, electronic medical records, EMR, is that right? EMR providers are going to be the ones EMR, you have to convince. It's very difficult as a founder, isn't it? Challenging.
Well, you know, if it wasn't challenging, someone else would have done it, probably, I guess. But I think so one of the things that we're really trying to think out of the box is really how to incentivize the healthcare institutions into adopting our technology as being standard of care. And we're really engaging with patient safety organizations, with legislators, state legislators in the US, malpractice insurance companies, with pharma companies, really trying to incentivize from the top down, not basically bottom up, the large healthcare networks to use our technology and have benefits which are far more greater than just prescription errors.
Is there a way for you to build some sort of a consumer app or a consumer offering that would allow me as a consumer to scan in my prescriptions, or if one of my relatives was in the hospital, scan in prescriptions and then maybe get some independent feedback on, in plain English, what those drugs were, what the interactions are, and what I should be looking out for? It seems to me an informational tool, an app, etc., might actually be something consumers were willing to pay for, or something that could at least give you more data points. Have you thought about that?
Yeah, definitely. I think the main challenge is that the number of data points that we need to pass judgment is quite large and on a time scale. We need a whole blood test, diagnosis, visits, etc., etc. And the data exists. It only exists in the EHRs or EMRs. The consumer rarely has it unless he uses some kind of portal which has a part of the information. But I think once our technology is validated and inside, this is definitely will be the next step by really opening the door for consumers to really demand this. And we can provide them with much more insights than just prescription errors, which is a relatively rare event. We can provide them with insights such as, how is my mother being treated, well or not? How would patients like me be treated at Harvard versus California versus Israel? What are my gaps in care? And this is definitely where we want to go, but for that we need to really partner with the organizations that own the electronic data and convince them to open access their data and our insights to their customers. But this is definitely down the road from us.
Very interesting. I was an investor in a company called Better Health, and what they did was they were a personal health concierge where you would pay $50 per month, which is $600 a year, which is not cheap, but when you put your overall healthcare cost into it of $1,500 a month or $1,200 a month for a family, it's quite reasonable if you're spending $15,000 of your own money or your corporation is spending $20,000 to, take care of your family's health. This $50 a month, you were able to chat with them and say, hey, and which doctor should I see for, I had a little bit of a growth on my hand, and I said, hey, I don't have a dermatologist in the city. Which one should I go to? And what should I be looking for? And they just gave me all this great advice. And then people who had cystic fibrosis and other communities were really embracing this because they didn't have an advocate. They didn't know what their rights were. They didn't know what was covered. And like you're saying, these best practices, but the company wasn't able to figure out the acquisition cost of customers as well as the ability to make it a profitable business at scale where they couldn't reach the scale they needed in time. But to me, that personal health advocate, it seemed like such a great concept that somebody at some point will get right. Because what you're doing is some advocacy in just one tiny slice, but boy, there's so many adjacencies, aren't there?
Yeah, so I think the best, first adopters for this kind of technology, which I think is really needed, are the self-insured companies, because basically they hold both ends of the stick. They both pay they take the liability or the risk basically for their own employees upon themselves. So they're in the best interest to have their employees as fit, as healthy as possible, because they lose twice. First, they pay out of pocket money for any admission, and they pay out of pocket money for any loss of work due to some illness. So they have access to the data. So we're definitely thinking on focusing there to enter this type of technology.
That's fascinating. So there are companies who actually, instead of buying insurance for all 50,000 employees, they just say, maybe we'll buy catastrophic for these edge cases, brain cancer or something horrible that is going to cost millions of dollars, cystic fibrosis, whatever. But they self-insure for everything else. So they could have these concierges who could direct them to the most affordable ways to manage healthcare. That is a very interesting idea. All right. So this has been fascinating. Gidi, I wish you great success. Thank you for taking the time to explain to us what everybody at MedAware is focused on. You can go visit medaware.com, aware.com, and you can, I'm sure you're hiring right now, but you're hiring in Israel, I take it, or are you hiring remote workers too?
Both.
Both. All right.
Both.
So go check out.
Just opened an office in the U.S.
Oh, did you open an office in the U.S.?
Mm-hmm.
Where, in Silicon Valley or in New York? Curious.
East Coast. East Coast.
So that's interesting. Why'd you pick the East Coast? Just because of the time difference and how easy it is to get there, or because of government regulations and stuff like that, partnerships?
First, the time difference is always important, but currently our main partners and pilot sites are in the East Coast, so that's where we're focusing, but obviously this might change any moment.
seems to be the best practice now for a lot of companies who have great developers, great product, R&D in Israel, in Europe, wherever, South America, but having a corporate office or even the HQ in the United States where they're near partners and near capital. So it seems like a pretty good best practice. All right, we'll be back with more on This Week in Startups. IBM is dedicated to supporting startups and developers. We all know that because they support the Launch Festival, Scale, This Week in Startups, everything we do here to support founders. IBM is our partner in that. They even host our incubator sometimes. We have our companies there, and they provide all that support, connections, and opportunities to help you grow because they're obsessed with startups because they know startups can get very big very quickly. And IBM Code will grow your skills with how-to tutorials, courses on IBM tools, and open standard technologies to help you with your app development, helping app developers and founders in every industry build cognitive solutions with access to trials and free technology usage credits for 1 year. They give you free credits for a year. They are amazing. Watson, IoT, mobile, all of this stuff. You can use it again for a year for free. And they have been so supportive. They've given so many startups free tables at the festival and Scale. They've given VIP tickets to founders. And we've even had 2 of their companies come to our incubator, so they've been a great source for us for deal flow. Me as an angel investor, I see the companies IBM's working with Watson and machine learning and all this different technology, and they are the cream of the crop. So if you want to learn more, go to developer.ibm.com/startups. That domain name, again, developer.ibm.com/startups. Developer.ibm.com/startups. Go ahead and check out all the offerings they have for startups just like yours. They are really on your side. Watson, the cloud, everything just works. And just a great team over there. They really care about startups, and they're in it for the right reason. They've been so supportive. And this is just a personal thank you from me to IBM for supporting over these last couple of years everything we do. Literally, they show up. All the developer advocates, all the business advocates, they just show up. And they show up and they help. And they could be working with all these big clients. IBM's working with customers that have hundreds of thousands of employees in dozens of countries, but they still take the time to work with the 5 or 10 person startup company. And that speaks volumes to me. So go ahead and go to developer.ibm.com/startups and see what they have to offer. Okay, thanks so much to IBM. Let's get back to this amazing episode. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to This Week in Startups. Now, for a fascinating entrepreneur in Singapore. Dustin Onghanseng is with us. Dustin, how are you?
I'm good.
Welcome to the program. I'm great. Tell us, you're working on uHoo Air. uHoo Air. What is uHoo Air?
So uHoo is an indoor air quality sensor. We understand the quality of air that you breathe. So we tell you and we help you how to create a better space in your homes, in your offices, and even in schools. And we provide you all the insights so you can change your activities, create better habits so that you can create a better place.
Okay, so can you show me how it works?
Yep. So this is the indoor air quality sensor. It's a device. It's roughly the size of your Starbucks latte. And all you have to do is plug it into your power and connect it to your Wi-Fi network. And after that, all the information is sent to your mobile phone, to your app. And you can basically get all the data, the insights, the alerts, the recommendations. And it tells you how to create a better space so that you can make your space healthier and safer.
What does it cost? What does it cost?
$299 US.
$299 sounds very expensive to me. Why so much?
Yeah, it's the most advanced air sensor. We have 9 sensors in the device compared to other players in the market that have 4 or 5 sensors.
So the sensors are very expensive is what you're telling me.
Yes, that's right. And we also created a really good interface for people to use.
Got it. Still seems very expensive. I want to put this into a home with 3, 4, 5 bedrooms. If I put it into one bedroom, then I wouldn't know what the air quality was in the other bedrooms, right?
So you have the option of moving it around because it's Wi-Fi connected and you can just unplug and plug it. But if you want to keep track of everything all at the same time, then you would have multiple devices.
Is it also a smoke detector or is it just air quality?
We also detect smoke. We also detect carbon monoxide.
Got it. So this would be a competitor to the Nest Aware, or whatever they call the Nest smoke detector that I have in my house?
We can do the same thing. Yeah, but we don't market ourselves as a smoke detector.
So if you don't market yourself as a smoke detector, I wonder, would I then have to put I'd have to put my smoke detector in and this, and have 2 devices per room?
No, you actually don't need to. You can just choose either one. It depends on your use.
But yours, is yours certified as a smoke detector? I'm curious here in the United States, because I know that's it's not certified as one, right? So you'd still have to have one. Can you show us what the app looks like? I love the idea, by the way. I was an investor in a company called Birdie, which was acquired, that did this, but they were more of a smoke detector that did some air sensing. So show us how this looks. Okay,
sure. So this is how the app looks like. So we go straight directly to the notifications, whether there's something wrong or everything is good. And if you want to drill down to your actual data, so we show you all this data. So
walk me through that. I see temperature, humidity, carbon dioxide 567. How is carbon dioxide measured, and what is a dangerous level of carbon dioxide? What's a normal level?
So normal levels would be from 400 to 1,000. So it increases. When it increases, it affects your productivity if you're inside the office. It also affects cognitive learning of children in school. So we have our detectors inside schools and offices because it helps them.
Would lower be better in all cases? Having lower would be better? If I went outside on the street, what would the carbon monoxide level be, like in the suburbs somewhere? If I was out in my backyard, what would my carbon dioxide level be?
It would be 400. That's the 400. General CO2 levels outdoors.
So on a planet Earth, it's 400. I see in your office, it's 567 right now, or whatever office you're looking at. Why is it slightly higher? Because people are talking and breathing?
Yes, because people are indoors and there's not enough ventilation, so the CO2 would go up.
Got it.
So one thing that we could do is we would know when people start coming into the office because we can see CO2 levels going up.
That would correlate with the number of people, yeah.
Yes, exactly.
All right, what else can you see there? I see carbon monoxide. So I got temperature, humidity, carbon dioxide. I see VOC. What is VOC?
VOCs are volatile organic compounds. So
that does not sound good. Oh, airborne chemicals.
Yeah, these come from paint, from bleach, from wood furniture. Yeah.
Wow. So if I go into a room with if I've bleached my office to get the floor clean, it would spike up. Now, bleach is bad for you? Breathing in bleach is bad for you?
Yes, because they have chemicals. So you would need to let it dissipate. It takes time for it to dissipate after you bleach. So this gives you an idea on how long before it becomes safe.
How long does it take for something like that to dissipate? If you had the windows open or something like that, I'm curious. Hours, days?
20, 30 minutes roughly.
Oh, okay, great.
So windows are open.
Got it. And if I had a room with a bunch of wood furniture in it that was stained and I saw the VOCs were high, what would I do? Should I get that wood furniture out there, or should I seal it in some way? What would be the fix for my wood furniture bleaching out all these volatile chemicals?
So there are 2 ways that you can do it. You can ventilate it during the day by opening your windows just to let it out. Some of the feedback from some of our customers is, especially if they have children, is they move the furniture out of their children's room and they transfer it somewhere else.
Can you, I got to get one of these. Are they for sale now?
Yep, they're for sale.
Here in the United States? Okay.
Yeah.
How can I buy one? Are they at Amazon, Best Buy? Where do I buy it?
You can buy it direct from our website.
Got it. uHooAir.com, uHooAir.com, UHOOAIR. And so we got the temperature, humidity, carbon dioxide, VOCs, volatile chemicals, carbon monoxide, we know that's terrible, and then there's 3 other, ozone, and then air pressure, we know that, and then what's PM, whatever that is? PM 2.5.
Yep, so those are dust particulates. So PM 2.5 are the ones that are small enough that can enter your lungs. So this is
that sounds bad. Got it. And yours says right now 8.5. So does that mean you're going to die when I'm interviewing you?
No,
Is that 8.5 out of 10? You're about to die? Don't breathe. Get out of there, Dustin. Leave quickly. No, Dustin, what is the level at which I see it's green, so I'm assuming green means it's good. At what level would it turn yellow and then red? I'm assuming it turns yellow and then red.
yeah. So the default settings that we place is at 50. So if you're more sensitive to dust, you can change the settings so you can get an alert at a lower level.
I have this IQ air filter in my house. I have a bunch of them. They're really good. Those are the highest rated IQ Air. I highly recommend. They're extremely expensive, but like hundreds of dollars. But they were proven to be the most effective, I think. What is your best practice for once you have one of these uHoo air quality detectors? What is your best practice and recommendation, Dustin, for cleaning the air in your house? Is it opening the windows, or is it keeping the windows closed and having air filters in your house? Which is better for kids, animals, and adults?
So the way we view it is it's really more of changing your habits to prevent it, because it's like if you do regular cleaning, the dust levels wouldn't go up that much. If you're more conscious of what products that you use, you can choose which ones have lower chemicals. So these are some of the things that you can do. And if, let's say, the dust levels are really high, you can just, when to turn on your purifier, or when to open your window, when to turn up your ventilation system. So it gives you the information.
And
how are you with that?
And so you are in Singapore, is that right?
Yep, we are based in Singapore and Hong Kong.
Got it. The air quality in China is terrible. India, it's terrible. Hong Kong, I'm not certain. It's an island, so I'm not sure exactly how bad it is. And how bad is it? If we were to put this outside in Hong Kong, what would we see on the VOC and on the PM 2.5, the two you said were the most important?
PM 2.5 would be borderline yellow to red. So it's roughly 60 plus.
So people just breathing the air in Hong Kong are getting particulates in their lungs.
Yes, it's pretty well known that Hong Kong has bad air quality outdoors.
How many years of life are people losing because of this in Hong Kong, do you think, or China, or India?
According to study, it's generally 20 months.
So people in Hong Kong will lose those great 20 months off their life, and they might have an increased risk of cancer. Is that right? Lung cancer?
Risk of cancer and respiratory illnesses.
What is it in Singapore? In Singapore,
In Singapore, it's pretty good outdoors, except when Indonesia burns their forest, and all the haze flies over to Singapore.
So Indonesia, they burn stuff and you get those particulates. And what is the I'm assuming, how many of these do you have in the field now? Do you have thousands of them out there, hundreds?
We only started shipping the products in April of this year.
Oh, okay. So hundreds maybe?
We have almost 2,000 already.
What locations in the world had the worst air quality? And tell us some anecdotal stories about people who had really scary air quality. Give us the scary shit.
Scary shit. So there's this family in Florida, if I remember correctly, or in New York, one of those areas. So they really had high VOC levels, and it's scary for their kid especially, because the kid has asthma. So
this was the PM 2.5 levels, or the VOC levels were high?
The VOCs were pretty high.
What was the range? Was it in the red?
It was in the red.
Oh.
Yeah. So when they checked it out, it was because the house was newly painted. And yeah, so it's because of that.
How do you remedy that?
You just need to let it ventilate, or you use a type of paint that has lower VOCs.
But if you already painted, it just takes air flowing through the house for a long time.
Yes.
Would an air filter protect you against VOCs or no?
Some filters do filter VOCs. Some filter only dust. Some can filter both. So you need to be aware on what type of filter you buy.
So here's a question for you. I know you guys did a little Indiegogo. You made $80,000. It seems to me that you are the detection system, and then Lead IQ is the solution in a lot of cases. Why haven't you built an air filter with these recording devices in it for $500 and sell me both as one product? Because that was my advice to Birdie, which made the air quality and the smoke detector was, I told them, why don't you just make me an air filter so if the quality becomes suspect, it not only sends me an alert, but it fixes it. Yeah, why aren't you building an air filter?
So it's more of the product development timeline. So that's something that's in our product roadmap as well. But as of right now, we're partnering with other air purifier manufacturers. Oh,
to maybe make them smart and they'll turn on?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, that's a mistake. You got to be careful. By the way, I said Lead IQ before. I actually meant Birdie. Birdie does it. That's a mistake. You got to be careful there, Dustin. If you tell them your secret sauce, they're going to just take your product and put it right into their air quality filter. You got to build the air quality filter. You got to meet them on their battlegrounds. You got to be more, aggressive as a founder. You got to take their business before they take yours. You think I'm right or no?
Eventually we will, but right now we lack the resources to do it. So it's more the resources thing.
Well, here's what I would do if I was you. The air filters are easy to make. I don't know if you've ever seen this in China, but people in China just buy a HEPA filter, like the replacement filter, and they strap it onto the front of a fan with a belt. And supposedly that works 90% as well as like a IQ Air. I saw videos. So why don't you just build your own air purifier, like simple one like that, and put it on top of your device? It'd be super easy. It'd be cheap. Do another Indiegogo. That would be a good idea.
Okay.
I think you should do a second Indiegogo for the 2.0.
Sure, we'll consider that.
So in Singapore and China, do people care about air quality? Because they seem to be living in countries, at least in China and India, people are living in countries that are taking 2 years off their life and exposing their children and themselves, their pets and loved ones to cancer, very serious cancer, but I guess they don't have the means, or some of them don't care, or they're ignoring it, or they're just taking it as a risk, like smoking is a risk. Why aren't people doing something about air quality in these regions where it's literally killing them?
That's a tough question. If we talk about outdoor air quality, it's also balancing their economic growth, I would say. So that's tough. They can only do something if it's indoors, because that's something that people can have more control over.
But the countries themselves are just a disaster. They won't stop burning coal, and they won't stop using combustion. The issue is cars and coal plants, right? And factories. Is that the main issue in these countries?
Yeah, a lot of it is on cars and coal plants.
Which one? You know which one's a bigger contributor in these countries, India and China? Is it the factories are the biggest, the coal factories, or is it mostly the cars? Because the number of cars in some of these cities is incredible now, and they don't have the same EPA regulations that we have here. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
I'm not exactly sure which one is a bigger contributor. So, yeah.
I think it's interesting. Interestingly, Dustin, I think your product would do better in the United States than in China and India, where they have the actual problem. Because I think people in America and in Europe have more resources and are more attuned to this than the people in some of those emerging markets. They're just dealing with their economies and having jobs. They're not even up to the level of taking care of food supply, air quality. These things are secondary to, having a job, I guess, and having a roof over your head. I wonder if you're in the right market. Are you selling more in China, or are you selling more in the United States?
Our market is actually United States and Europe. So all our customers are in these two regions, at least most of them, 80-90% of it.
It's amazing. I just got a note here from January of this year. Southeast Asian air quality and pollution deaths could triple. Coal emissions in Southeast Asia are projected to triple by 2030, resulting in an increase in pollution-related deaths, according to a Harvard-backed report published this Friday. So this is a big deal in those countries, and it's getting worse, isn't it?
Yep, it's getting worse. So we actually have good demand in Southeast Asian countries as well, particularly.
But the price tag's too expensive for Southeast Asia, right? Well, for China?
Consumer market, yes, but for corporate market, it's not, because we also cater to corporate market.
You should sell these for $20 a month. That would be or $10 a month. Have you thought about doing a subscription service, $10 a month?
We have. It's hard to keep track of that, because the moment we send out the device, the person can just keep it.
I would send it for I would sell it for $100 plus $10 a month to do it. And that would be just at least a way for you. But you got to get the cost down to become a mass product market. You got to get to what, $99, $149 to get a mass market going of consumers. What do you think?
Say around $199 to get mass market.
How far are you from that $199 price point?
Once we start to scale, we can maybe achieve that.
Okay, so maybe in a year or two?
Roughly, yes.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to buy one. You sold me. I got to have it. I need one of these. And there's no real competition for you, is there? Nobody's really making these.
There are a few, one or two companies in the United States, one or two as well in Europe.
Are they focused on corporate or consumer?
Consumer.
Consumer,
but they also sell to corporates.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder do corporations already have like a Honeywell system for doing this, like some high-end, really expensive system?
Honeywell just started getting into air quality. I think they just released a new PM 2.5 sensor that's pretty smart.
Cool.
Yep.
All right. Well, listen, I wish you all the success in the world, Dustin. I'm glad we finally got to talk. I'm going to order one today. Everybody should go check it out. It's uHoo Air, uHooAir.com. You can buy it here in the United States, and in Europe, they're available. If I order it, can I get one, or are they back ordered?
You can get one. We already have.
You can get one. Amazing. But not on Amazon.
No, not on Amazon.
Why not? Shouldn't you be putting it on Amazon?
Yeah, we're about to go online on Amazon.
Oh, really? Can you still charge $299 there, or are they going to grind you down on price?
We're not sure. We're talking to Amazon now, so we'll have to see.
All right. Well, listen, continue. What's it like to raise money over there? Is it easy to raise money in Singapore? Are there any investors, or is it hard?
It's hard because of the hardware component.
Yeah, that's a problem for you.
Yeah, the hardware component is kind of a hindrance to raising funds.
Yeah, I've had 3 hardware investments. I think you really have to do what Pebble did and do a second version and try to go from raising $80,000 to $800,000 for an exciting, even more exciting product, right? Like I think for me, the combination of the air quality filter, the air filter with the air sensor, to me is the holy grail. My God, if that was available, I think I bought these IQ Airs for $600 each, and I bought 3 of them at one point because I have asthma, my wife has asthma, and we were just like, we live in Los Angeles, you have to have something, and the air quality was amazing. All right, listen, I wish you all the success in the world, Dustin. I know it's hard. It's not easy to be a hardware entrepreneur. I think you should move the company here to America and Silicon Valley and try to raise money here. You're going to have a hard time over there, so just get your ass out of there if you can. I don't know if Trump's letting people back in the country yet. But I don't know. Philippines, are you allowed to come to America anymore? I don't know. We let the Filipino folks into America anymore. Can you come to America? Is it allowed?
Yeah.
Or they give you a hard time? It's allowed?
It's pretty easy for me.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, I'd love to have coffee with you next time you're here. Good luck with it. I hope you sell thousands of these, and I hope that people in the emerging market, especially the leaders over there, take more control over this insanity, because it's completely unfair to the citizens in China, in India, Indonesia, and other countries that are destroying not only their environment recklessly and unnecessarily, but they're also damaging these children's lungs. And they're damaging lungs when kids are just developing in their early years. It's a true tragedy. And I really wish the government would buy 100,000 of your sensors and put them in the lobby of every building and make a public sensor network where you could show the data of the entire country by building and by street level. I think that would be amazing. If you open source that and just put out into the world, that would be actually pretty cool, is if people could release their sensors data and they can make it public. Can people make their data public and contribute it to you?
That's the next feature that we will be releasing in the next few months.
Yeah, that would be amazing. An API or something, people will be able to see it, or a public website where you can see air quality across the world.
Yeah, a public website for people to see it.
Amazing. All right, listen, continued success, and I can't wait to see your 2.0. Good luck, and I'll see you when you're in San Francisco. Come by the incubator.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, Dustin, good luck. Thanks again, everybody, and we'll see you next time on This Week in Startups. Bye-bye.